UFC champion Ilia Topuria is known for his devastating power, that unshakable confidence, and a flawless record. This is a man who walked the walk, making history as a champion with proud Georgian and Spanish roots before becoming an undefeated two-division king. But it's a story told outside the cage that has fellow champion and UFC commentator Daniel Cormier in some seriously hot water, forcing him to publicly walk back a major claim he made about the champ's background. Not long ago, Cormier told a story that painted Ilia Topuria as a man born with a silver spoon, someone who came from a ton of family money. But was any of it true? We're going to show you the exact story DC told, how he was publicly called out with receipts, and the apology he had to issue to the fans. And you won't believe who DC claims gave him the bad info in the first place. This is a classic case of a viral takedown in the MMA media world. It all started on an episode of the popular Good Guy/Bad Guy show. Daniel Cormier, a respected voice and a former two-division champ himself, decided to share what he thought was some inside scoop on Ilia Topuria's wealth. We count on DC for great inside access and details others might miss. This time, however, those details were just plain wrong. Talking about Topuria's rise to fame and his impressive lifestyle, Cormier told a story about a conversation he supposedly had. He said, "So when I talked to Ilia, I was talking to him about his $2 million gym that he has in his house. I go, oh man, now you might have money now after these 2 wins, but before I'm like, how do you have so much money?" And that's when Cormier dropped the bombshell. He continued, "Come to find out, Ilia got family money, Ilia's rich." To make it even wilder, DC threw another top contender, Arman Tsarukyan, into his story about wealthy fighters. He said, "Arman's like rich." Could you imagine 2 rich dudes fighting for a UFC title? 2 rich dudes that didn't get their money in fighting would be the craziest thing because rich dudes don't fight. The message was obvious. Ilia Topuria, El Matador, this ferocious finisher, wasn't a product of struggle and sacrifice like so many other fighters. DC was telling the world he was a child of privilege, a man who didn't have to fight but chose to. It's a story that would completely change how people see one of the sport's biggest stars. The only problem, it was completely false. The picture Daniel Cormier painted couldn't be further from the truth. Far from being born into wealth, Topuria's life has been all about moving, adapting, and just relentless hard work. Ilia Topuria was born in Halle, Germany, to Georgian parents, Zaza and Inga Topuria, who were refugees. He spent his first 7 years in Germany before his family moved back to Georgia. It was there that a young Ilia started training in Greco-Roman wrestling, which built the foundation for his future in fighting. But his family's journey wasn't done. When he was 15, they had to move again, this time to Alicante, Spain. Reports say this move was because of economic hardship, not because they were wealthy. It was in Spain that Topuria found mixed martial arts at the Clement Club and dedicated his whole life to it. This wasn't some hobby paid for by family money, it was a career he built from scratch. His father even supported his choice to leave school at 15 to train full-time, a sign of the family's belief in his dream, not their bank account. The biggest takedown of Cormier's claim came from Topuria himself, long before this whole mess. In an interview with Ariel Helwani, Topuria described a time when he was just trying to make ends meet. He revealed that at one point, he was working 4 different jobs to chase his dream. A cashier, a grappling teacher, a beach attendant, and even a security guard. That's the real Ilia Topuria. The son of a refugee family moving across Europe, a young man working multiple jobs to pay for his training, and a fighter who earned every penny and every win with his own 2 hands. That story is a universe away from the rich kid tale Cormier was selling, and the MMA world was quick to call him on it. In today's world, bad information, especially from someone as big as Daniel Cormier, doesn't stick around for long. The MMA fanbase is one of the most passionate and sharpest out there, and they don't forget. Almost as soon as DC's comments hit the internet, fans and media accounts started firing back. The best counterpunch came from the Topuria Land account on X. They didn't just complain, they came with receipts. The account posted that famous clip from Ilia Topuria's old interview with Ariel Helwani, where he broke down his life working 4 jobs just to get by. That clip blew up. It was undeniable proof straight from the fighter's mouth that completely destroyed the family money story. The video was like a digital takedown using DC's own platform, the media, right back at him. Fans piled on, hitting the UFC commentator for what they saw as lazy work, or even worse, an attempt to twist the story around a new champion. The whole thing showed what fans really care about: authenticity. They love the stories of struggle that define so many fighters. So when a respected voice like DC tries to erase that struggle with a baseless claim, it feels like a slap in the face not just to Topuria, but to the sport itself. The community had shown its proof. The ball was in DC's court. If you're liking this breakdown of what really went down, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. We're all about getting to the real story behind the MMA headlines, and your support helps us keep digging. Alright, let's get into how DC handled the blowback. Facing a mountain of proof and heat from the same audience that hangs on his every word, Daniel Cormier did what any respectable person in his spot should do. He owned it. He didn't argue. He didn't try to sweep it under the rug. He tapped out to the facts. After seeing the clip of Topuria's interview and the fan backlash, Cormier went straight to social media with a quick and direct apology. He replied right to the Topuria land post, writing, "Damn, I was wrong." It was simple and clear. But DC didn't stop there. He then did something that added a wild twist to the whole thing. He revealed who gave him the bad info. According to DC, this wasn't just a random slip-up. He got caught up in the MMA gossip mill himself. He continued his post, writing, "I think Kale told me this and I should know better than to listen to Kale. He got me again." With that one sentence, the story took a sharp turn. Cormier wasn't just saying sorry, he was playfully, but clearly blaming one of the most notorious personalities in MMA media, the American gangster Chael Sonnen. It was both an apology and an explanation, showing how a game of telephone can happen behind the scenes, where stories get passed around until the facts disappear. DC was pretty much telling everyone he failed to check his source, and instead trusted a guy famous for stirring the pot. In the MMA world, blaming Chael Sonnen is a move that's both totally understandable and kind of hilarious. Chael P. Sonnen built his entire brand not just on fighting, but on being a master of trash talk, spinning narratives, and having what you might call a flexible relationship with the truth. He's the self-proclaimed bad guy, a master promoter who knows that controversy sells. By naming Sonnen, Cormier was leaning into a dynamic that everyone in the sport gets. Fans, fighters, and media all know that a story from Chael often needs to be taken with a huge grain of salt. It's his thing. DC's defense was basically, "I got played by the best." As he put it, he got me again, admitting it wasn't the first time he'd been fooled by his co-host. This whole thing does more than just let DC off the hook for being malicious. It shines a big, bright light on how the MMA media machine works. Information flies between a tight circle of fighters, commentators, and journalists. A rumor shared in private can suddenly become a public fact if nobody bothers to check it. In this case, it looks like a classic Chael Sonnen story. Whether he was joking or not, got picked up by Cormier and broadcast to the world without a second thought. It's a warning for anyone in sports media. Credibility is everything. While DC's quick apology and the lighthearted blame on Chael helped him get through it, it was a reminder of the massive responsibility that comes with a microphone. In a sport built on realness, where your info comes from is just as important as the info itself. So why does a story like this even matter? It's just one commentator making a mistake and saying sorry, right? Well, on the surface, yeah. But if you dig a little deeper, this incident says a lot about the bond between fighters, the media, and the fans. For one, it proves how much a fighter's story matters. Their background isn't just a fun fact. It's how they connect with the audience. Stories of overcoming the odds, of being broke, of pure struggle, that's what turns athletes into heroes. When Cormier called Topuria a rich kid, he wasn't just getting a detail wrong. He was accidentally trying to erase the tough journey that made Ilia Topuria who he is. The fan reaction proved just how much that real story means. It's also a big lesson in media responsibility. People like Daniel Cormier aren't just talking heads, they are powerful voices who shape how we see the sport. Their words have weight. This whole mess is a clear reminder that even for the most trusted guys, checking your facts is everything. Relying on secondhand info, even from a buddy like Chael Sonnen, is a huge risk when your reputation is on the line. Finally, the way this all wrapped up is actually a good thing for the sport. Cormier's immediate public apology showed he respects the fans and Ilia Topuria. It showed accountability. It proves that mistakes happen, but owning them is how you keep trust. It stopped a simple error from turning into a nasty feud or a permanent black mark. This whole cycle, from the fake story to the fan correction and the final apology, shows that the MMA community has a way of fixing itself, where the truth, pushed by a passionate fan base, always finds a way to win. In the end, the case of Daniel Cormier's bad intel was shut down fast. The lie was a simple one, that Ilia Topuria was born rich. The truth, backed up by Ilia's own words, was a story of pure hustle. The correction came from the fans, and the apology from Cormier was honest, revealing, and even pointed a finger at the sport's biggest instigator, Chael Sonnen. It might have been an embarrassing moment for a commentator like DC, but it ended up highlighting the things the MMA world truly values: authenticity, respect for the grind, and a demand for the truth. It just goes to show that in today's media landscape, nobody is safe from a fact check. and credibility is a title you have to defend every single day. What do you think about DC's mistake? Was it an honest slip-up and a funny example of the Kale Sonnen effect? Or was it just lazy journalism from a guy who should know better? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks.